Buju, wago shindagu migizi indodem, gazaga squaji mekag, indun jaba. Today I'd like to share a little perspective about the Pretendians. This word has come into vogue over the past several years as a way of taking the word pretend in Indian to describe those who do not have any Native American or indigenous biological ancestry, but position themselves as indigenous people. In other words, they lie about their identity. And it's actually quite harmful when some folks do this because they end up taking the microphone from authentic, grounded indigenous people whose voices should be centered in the activities and positions that represent us. We don't need anybody else to represent us. There are plenty of us to represent ourselves. And there are other effects of this. It's not just about taking the microphone, but it often takes position, opportunity, that could be financial, social, or otherwise, from Native people. And in many ways, it's kind of a manifestation of white supremacy that somebody, who's not Native at all should be able to represent us and speak for us, and so forth. And so there's been an effort to push back, expose Pretendians, and, hold them to account. And there have been some high profile cases where exposed Pretendians have lost their jobs, influence, and things like that. Some of the cases have been really quite shocking. Like there was a book by Forrest Carter called The Education of Little Tree, and the author positioned himself as a Native author. It's kind of a beautiful story about this Native kid dealing with residential boarding school, his relationship with his father, and so forth. And it was later discovered after this book came out and sold all kinds of copies that Forrest Carter was actually a member of the Ku Klux Klan, harbored, and acted on racist ideologies, was not Native at all, and was profiteering off of this misrepresented identity. There were other cases too. You may have heard about Gray Owl. It was a much more famous case in Canada, Iron Eyes Cody, and many others. And so those cases have done harm not just to, Native people and not just to themselves in their own careers and so forth, but they've actually hurt the message, the positive message that even they were trying to speak to. For Gray Owl and Iron Eyes Cody, for example, around environmental issues, the whole message got dismissed because of the messenger. So I do think that this is something that needs attention, and there has been a call for accountability and so forth. But I do want to share another dimension to this that really needs to have voice as we, as Native people, think about how we want to message around this and how we want to act on the issues. So, for example, bear in mind that 1/3 of our people have been adopted and fostered out of our communities. That, the enrolled tribal citizenry is smaller than the broader population of those who do actually have Native American blood in their veins. And if our pushback on the Pretendians, which does need to happen, we need to have accountability. But when we do that, if we are mean-spirited, treating everyone with extreme suspicion or negative and mean-spirited communication until they prove it otherwise, that some of the side effects of that disposition can be that it will scare many people who do have Native blood in their veins away from embracing their Native identity, attending their ceremonies, learning about their culture. And for those of us who've been fortunate enough to, keep our tribal languages, carry our culture and things like that, some of the teachings that come out of those things is that we should be kind and we should be inclusive and we should seek to help our people and heal our people and reconnect our people to our language and culture, because many of us lost those things through no fault of their own because of being adopted or fostered out or, having generations of disconnect and missionaries who have sought to erode our faith traditions and all kinds of things. And so if our pushback on the Pretendians is too hard, is too mean-spirited, we actually end up chasing away a lot of our own people too. And so I think it's important that we speak to our highest values. For me, I'm somebody who officiates at a number of ceremonies in the Ojibwe world. And, I think it's important for me to provide the message to our own people who do have native blood in their veins that while some of our ceremonies are just for Ojibwe people, that even if you're not an enrolled member, that your native blood that's running through your veins is sufficient to entitle you to the right to come to our ceremonies, to learn our language, to learn about our culture, to do these sorts of things. And that, we cannot afford to deliver more pain to our own people. And we need all of our people to be part of our communities and to be welcomed. And we need to show up as the best versions of ourselves, not just for them, but for us too. That if we center too much negative energy in our space, that it can actually do harm to us. So accountability for the Pretendians, yes. But being mean to all of our people until they can prove with their tribal enrollment card, who they are, I think we need to be careful about moving in that direction. And if we do strike the right tone, our calls for accountability will resonate, be supported, and be effective. And I do think that we need to tend to all of the dimensions of the debates about the Pretendians. Miigwech. Thanks for watching today. I'm Anton Treuer. Let's keep in touch. I'm active on social media, and my website has lots of information on my books, speaking engagements, resources for the Ojibwe language, teachers, and more. Miigwech.